I was lying beneath a dilapidated old Chevy, the kind of job that made my back ache and left my hands perpetually stained with grease, when I heard the unmistakable sputter of an engine dying outside my garage. A sharp, panicked voice called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" I slid out from under the car, wiped my hands on my already dirty overalls, and turned to see her. Young, out of place in this gritty neighborhood, her heels clicking nervously against the pavement as she approached. "My car broke down," she said, gesturing toward a sleek black coupe parked haphazardly by the curb. It was clear that car and she didn't belong in this part of town. "Looks like you're in the right place," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral despite the stark contrast between her polished appearance and my shabby garage. "Pop the hood and let me take a look." She hesitated, glancing at her phone as though she had somewhere better to be. "Can you fix it quickly? I'm on a tight schedule." "Let's see what I'm working with first," I answered, already reaching for my tools. As I examined the engine, it became evident she had little knowledge of cars. When I pointed out that the radiator was nearly dry and a few connections were loose, she bit her lip. "Can you fix it or not?" "I can fix it," I said, suppressing a grin, "but it may take a couple of hours." She groaned, pacing in her high heels. "Fine, I'll wait." Although her impatience was palpable, I focused intently on the task at hand. By the time I finished, the sun was setting, and she was leaning against the wall, scrolling through her phone. "All done," I announced, wiping my hands and standing up. Her visible relief was gratifying. "Thank you. How much do I owe you?" she asked, reaching into her designer bag. I gave her a modest sum for the work I'd done. She blinked in surprise, then pulled out a thick wad of cash. "Keep the change," she said curtly, handing me significantly more than I asked. "That's too much." I began to protest, but she was already striding toward her car. "Consider it a tip," she called over her shoulder before driving off, the roar of her engine echoing into the evening. I didn't give it much thought until later that night, when a knock on my door startled me, just as I was about to sit down with a cold beer and watch a game on TV. When I opened it, I was met by a man in a crisp suit holding an envelope. "Mr. Daniels?" he inquired. Yeah," I replied warily. "Who's asking?" He extended the envelope toward me. "I'm here on behalf of Miss Evelyn Carter." The name didn't ring a bell until he added, "The woman whose car you fixed earlier today." I frowned. "Is something wrong with the repair?" I told her everything should be running fine now. "It's not about the repair," he interrupted, his tone unreadable. "Miss Carter would like to thank you personally. She has her own unique way of doing that." I glanced at the envelope, my gut twisting. This didn't feel like a mere thank you. "Can I come in?" the lawyer asked. I stepped aside, allowing him to enter. He moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to million-dollar boardrooms, not a rundown mechanic's shop. He scanned my small living room, his gaze lingering on the peeling wallpaper and worn furniture. "Make yourself comfortable," I said, infusing a hint of sarcasm into my voice. He didn't sit. Instead, he handed me the envelope. "Miss Carter instructed me to deliver this to you personally. She believes in rewarding those who go above and beyond." I opened it cautiously, feeling the weight of the moment. Inside was a check. My eyes widened as I registered the amount. $50,000. "You've got to be kidding me," I muttered. "This has to be a mistake." "No mistake," he assured me. "Miss Carter has her reasons." "What reasons?" I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. "I fixed her car, not her entire life." His smile was faint but confident. "She's a very private person, but let's say she values acts of kindness, especially from those who expect nothing in return." I stared at the check, my mind racing. 50 grand was more money than I had ever seen, let alone held in my hands. It could pay off my debts, fix up the shop, and maybe even allow me to dream a bit bigger. But surely there was a catch. "What's the condition?" I asked, my voice cautious. "No condition," he replied smoothly. "It's a gift, pure and simple." I didn't fully believe him. People like her didn't just hand out money for no reason. Nevertheless, I nodded and carefully placed the check back into the envelope. If she needs more repairs, she knows where to find me, I said, trying to keep things light. The lawyer nodded courteously and turned to leave. Enjoy your evening, Mr. Daniels. The next day, I was still struggling to comprehend what had just happened when another surprise came my way. A black SUV pulled up outside my shop, and out stepped Evelyn Carter herself. Gone was the frazzled look from the day before. Now, she was every inch the polished CEO, her confidence radiating like the sun. Miss Carter, I said, wiping my hands on a rag. Didn't expect to see you again so soon. Call me Evelyn, she said, a faint smile gracing her lips. I wanted to thank you in person. Didn't your lawyer already take care of that? I replied, trying to mask my nerves. She laughed softly. I suppose he did, but I believe gratitude is best expressed face to face. There was something sincere in her tone that caught me off guard. She stepped closer, her gaze sweeping over the shop. This is your business, she stated. For better or worse, I replied. Mostly worse these days. Her expression softened. You're skilled at what you do. You could charge twice as much, and people would still come to you. Not here, I countered. People don't have that kind of money. Evelyn nodded thoughtfully. What if I told you I could change that? Not just for you, but for the entire neighborhood. I frowned. What do you mean? She smiled enigmatically. I have a proposal, but it's not something we can discuss here. Are you free for dinner tonight? Dinner with her? I hesitated, unsure whether to feel flattered or suspicious. I don't usually mix business with food, I said carefully. Then consider it a favor, she replied, her tone leaving no room for argument. Pick me up at 8. I'll text you the address. And just like that, she was gone again, leaving me in disbelief. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind. By the time I arrived at the upscale restaurant she had chosen, my nerves were frayed. My old truck felt out of place next to the luxury cars in the lot. Inside, Evelyn was waiting for me at a private table, dressed to perfection and exuding confidence. You clean up nicely, she said as I sat down, her eyes sparkling with amusement. Thanks, I replied, feeling like a fish out of water. She wasted no time with small talk. You're probably wondering why I'm doing all this. That thought crossed my mind, I admitted. She leaned closer, her expression growing serious. I grew up in a community like this, where people looked out for each other but often didn't have much. My father was a mechanic just like you. He taught me the value of hard work and the importance of giving back. I stared at her, trying to reconcile the polished CEO before me with the story she was sharing. And you think handing me a check is a way to pay it forward? That was just the beginning, she replied. I want to invest in you, in your shop, in your skills. Together, we could build something bigger, something that helps this entire community. Her words hung in the air, making me feel like I had just been handed the keys to a kingdom I didn't know I deserved. Invest in me? I echoed, as if saying it out loud would somehow clarify everything. Evelyn nodded. You have talent, Marcus, and more importantly, you possess integrity. Those qualities are rare. I see potential not just in your work, but in what you could do for this community with the right support. Why me? I asked, still skeptical. There are better mechanics out there, larger shops. She raised a hand to silence me. I didn't choose you because you're the best mechanic in the world. I chose you because you're the kind of person who would fix a stranger's car without trying to cheat them out of every penny. That's the kind of person I want to work with. I was taken aback. Part of me wanted to seize the opportunity with both hands, while another part wondered if this was some kind of elaborate prank. What's the catch? I asked finally. Her lips curved into a faint smile. No catch, just hard work and a shared vision. If you're interested, we'll draw up the paperwork and get started. And if you're not, you keep the check, no strings attached. I didn't walk away from the opportunity. Over the next few days, Evelyn laid out her plan in meticulous detail. She wanted to expand my shop, invest in better equipment, and offer training programs for local kids eager to learn a trade. It all sounded too good to be true. But the more she talked, the more I began to believe in her vision. She wasn't just throwing money at a problem. She had a clear strategy, and she wanted me at the heart of it. By the end of the week, I signed the paperwork, and the transformation began almost immediately. The first thing Evelyn did was bring in a team to renovate the shop. Watching them tear down the old, rusted walls and replace them with sleek, modern panels felt like witnessing my life being rebuilt piece by piece. Evelyn was there every day, overseeing the project with an intensity that left no room for failure. "You're not just fixing cars anymore," she told me one afternoon as we stood in the midst of the construction. "You're building a legacy." Her words resonated deeply with me. For the first time in years, I felt part of something larger than myself. However, not everyone welcomed the changes. Some local mechanics viewed me as a sellout and made their disdain known. "You think you're better than us now?" one of them sneered as he entered the shop. "I'm just trying to do something different," I replied evenly. "Yeah, with her money," he shot back, jabbing his thumb toward Evelyn, who was deep in conversation with one of the contractors. I clenched my fists, but before I could respond, Evelyn stepped in, her voice sharp. "Is there a problem?" He mumbled something under his breath and left. "You don't have to fight my battles for me," I said after he was gone. "I know," she replied, "but I'm not going to let anyone undermine what we're building here." As the shop began to take shape, my life began to change dramatically. For the first time in years, I felt like I was moving forward instead of just treading water. But with progress came new challenges. Evelyn's presence in my life didn't go unnoticed, and rumors began to swirl. People whispered about our relationship, speculating whether there was more to it than business. I tried to ignore it at first, but when one of my oldest friends confronted me, I couldn't hold back my frustration. "You think I'm doing this for personal gain? You think I'd risk everything for a paycheck?" "I don't know what to think," he admitted. "But people are talking, and it's not just about the shop." I understood what he meant, but I refused to dignify the rumors with a response. My focus remained firmly on the work, and I wasn't going to let anything distract me from that. Evelyn, however, seemed unfazed by the gossip. "Let them talk," she said one evening when I brought it up. "People are always going to find something to complain about." While her confidence was reassuring, it didn't make the whispers any easier to bear. I threw myself into the project, determined to prove the naysayers wrong. The grand reopening of the shop was set for 3 months later. As the date approached, I found myself logging longer hours than ever, pushing myself to ensure every detail was perfect. Evelyn was right there with me, her energy seemingly boundless. "You're going to make this place a beacon for the community," she assured me one night as we locked up. "I can feel it." When the day of the grand reopening finally arrived, it buzzed with excitement and a hint of tension. The formerly decrepit shell of my shop had transformed into a gleaming facility filled with state-of-the-art tools, a welcoming waiting area, and even a space for community classes. People from the neighborhood gathered outside, curiosity etched on their faces, mingled with skepticism. The ribbon-cutting ceremony felt surreal. When Evelyn handed me a giant pair of scissors, I almost laughed. "This is your moment, Marcus," she said quietly, her voice steady and encouraging. I cut the ribbon to a chorus of cheers and applause, but beneath the noise, I caught sight of a few familiar faces in the crowd, those who weren't clapping, their expressions cold and doubtful. The first few weeks were a whirlwind. Business picked up almost immediately, and the training program for local kids became an instant success. It was incredible to see young faces light up as they learned to work with their hands, just like I had when I discovered my own passion for fixing things. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Some of my old rivals became increasingly aggressive, spreading rumors that I had sold out to corporate greed or that Evelyn was using me as a pawn in some hidden agenda. One evening, I discovered the side of the shop vandalized with graffiti, "Traitor," scrawled in bold red letters. Evelyn arrived just as I was scrubbing it off, her expression hardening at the sight. "Who did this?" she demanded, her voice frosty. "I don't know," I admitted. "But it doesn't matter. I'll handle it." It does matter, she insisted firmly. This isn't just about you anymore. It's about what we're building together, and I won't let anyone tear it down. True to her word, Evelyn didn't let it slide. She hired a security company to monitor the premises and insisted on installing cameras around the shop. It's overkill, I argued. But Marcus, when you're trying to make real change, you're going to upset people. This isn't overkill. It's necessary, she replied. Her unwavering determination was both impressive and intimidating, and I couldn't help but admire her for it. But as the tension escalated, I began to question if it was all worth it. One night, as we were locking up, Evelyn turned to me. "You're doubting yourself," she observed, reading me like an open book. "I'm questioning a lot of things," I replied. "But mostly, I'm wondering why you're still here. You don't need this." She looked at me, her expression softening. "Maybe I do. My father used to say that the only way to make your life matter is to leave the world better than you found it. This is my way of doing that." Her words struck a chord with me, and for the first time I recognized how personal this mission was for her. Things took a turn for the worse a week later when Derek, one of the rival mechanics, swaggered into the shop flanked by two of his friends. "You think you're better than us now?" he spat, his voice loud enough to attract attention. I stepped outside, keeping my posture relaxed. "I'm not better than anyone, Derek. I'm just trying to run my business." "Your business?" he scoffed. "This isn't your business anymore. It's hers." He jabbed his finger toward the office where Evelyn was meeting with a supplier. "Watch your mouth," I said, my voice low and steady. "Or what?" he sneered, stepping closer. Before I could respond, Evelyn appeared at the door. "Is there a problem?" she asked, her voice calm yet authoritative. Derek's bravado faltered for a moment but quickly returned. "Yeah, there's a problem. People around here don't like what you're doing." "People?" she repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Or just you?" The tension was thick, and I stepped in to diffuse the situation. "We're done here," I said firmly. "If you've got something to say it to me. Leave her out of it." Derek glared at me, but eventually backed off, muttering insults as he and his friends walked away. After they left, Evelyn turned to me. "That's not going to be the last time this happens," she warned. "I can manage," I said more confidently than I felt. "I know you can," she replied, "but I won't let anyone undermine what we're building together." We pressed on, facing challenges as a united front. Each setback only fueled our determination to succeed. As the weeks passed, our partnership deepened, evolving from mere business to genuine friendship. Together, we envisioned a future that would leave a positive mark on our community. As the shop flourished, so did our dream for the neighborhood. We began hosting free workshops, mentoring local kids, and teaching essential skills. The changes we initiated began to ripple through the area, inspiring others to believe in themselves and their potential. Months later, as I stood with Evelyn in the bustling shop filled with laughter and learning, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. "You did this," she said quietly, her eyes shining with pride. "I couldn't have done it without you," I replied, overwhelmed with gratitude. As I watched the children happily working on cars, their faces glowing with enthusiasm, I realized we had built something unique, a legacy that would change lives for years to come. In that moment, I understood that sometimes the best opportunities arise from unexpected encounters, and the journey of